Hey guys, I'm Yuruzi. This is What If Naruto Was a Legendary Gundam Pilot, Part 3. While alive, many believe that time will heal all wounds. In death, you will get the chance to meet all those that you love that have passed away before you did. For one man, neither of these sayings are true. This is his story. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel and check the author in the description. Let's start. Chapter 9. What? How could this have happened? Gasped Kigali with wide eyes. She had just learned from the chairman that Junius was no longer in a stable orbit and was on a collision course with Earth. We don't know. It could be anything from a natural disaster to a possible terrorist action, but we just don't have enough information yet to know, sighed Durandal as he sat across from the girl. This shouldn't be happening. Junius 7 was meant to be a memorial site, not a weapon to destroy others, muttered Athrun as he clenched his fists angrily. I couldn't agree with you more, which is why I must apologize again, but I have ordered this ship to head towards Junius 7 to help in any way it can, said Durandal. Of course, agreed Kigali as she wanted to help as much as she could as well. Thank you, feel free to walk around the ship while we make our way towards Junius 7, smiled Durandal as Kigali and Athrun got up and left the room. Once they were both gone, Durandal turned his head to look at Naruto, who was leaning against the far wall with his arms crossed across his chest. Tell me, Naruto-san, what you think of this development? Asked Durandal curiously. This is a terrorist action and you should send notice to the demolition crew to prepare for possible combat, said Naruto with the same cold look that was always in his eyes. How can you be so sure? Said Durandal with a raised eyebrow. I was there when ZFT put that memorial in orbit around Earth. It was my job to make sure they didn't try anything, and if they did, to destroy them all. I assure you nothing short of a heavy asteroid would be able to knock it out of its orbit naturally, and you would have detected such a large object heading towards Earth well before it hit Junius 7, explained Naruto. Which means that someone or a group of people more likely did something to throw it out of its orbit, frowned Durandal. As advanced as the plants are, they cannot survive without the Earth, as it would mess up gravity in the entire system should one planet be destroyed. In the end, the plants would be destroyed as well by the after effects, said Naruto. I see your point, but I would be helping regardless if it affected the plants or not, as I would never allow a planet to be destroyed if I could do something. I hope you don't so little of me because of the other things I have planned when the inevitable conflict is over, said Durandal with a small smile. If you say so, Chairman, replied Naruto before leaving the room. Durandal watched as the door shut behind Naruto and released a breath he didn't realize he was holding. No matter how uncaring you act, I have no doubt you would have killed me should I have told you I was going to do nothing to help stop the falling Junius 7, mumbled Durandal with a fearful look in his eyes that he didn't realize was there. Kigali and Athrun. This is horrible. I can't believe something like this is happening after all we went through to achieve the peace we are in now, said Kigali as her fist clenched in anger. I believe the chairman will do his best to stop Junius 7 from colliding with Earth. He seems to genuinely want to help, reassured Athrun. I know, but still. When I see that man with the chairman, I can't help but doubt his honesty. If he truly cared about maintaining peace, then how could he give that man a Gundam, let alone a mobile suit? Argued Kigali. Yeah, I know what you mean, but I have spent some time yesterday speaking to Commander Uzumaki. This may sound crazy, but he doesn't seem to be one of those people who enjoy fighting, said Athrun as he thought about his talk with Naruto. How can you say that? He not only destroyed Boaz, but ORB as well, and practically single-handedly. I went over all reports from our soldiers that survived that fight and they all reported to being wiped out without mercy by his Gundam, yelled Kigali angrily. I am not trying to defend, but he was a soldier of the Earth forces. He was merely following orders just like I was when I was a part of ZFT, explained Athrun. I understand that, and I know I shouldn't hate from doing his duty, but I can't just forgive him either. ORB is my home and he destroyed it. I will not start an issue over it, but don't expect me to ever forgive him, said Kigali with a hard look in her eyes. Athrun just nodded his head at the girl as they reached the recreation room, where they noticed a bunch of people speaking about the Junius 7 incident. Minerva Hanger. This feeling of anger, it has been a long time since I felt it. It seems this new development is affecting me more than I thought Naruto as he stared up at Epion. Naruto could feel the hate and anger coming off Epion as well, and knew that he would not show any mercy to these terrorists. He had seen some horrible things throughout his life, but never something as bad as an incident where the whole planet could be destroyed. Once again, he was shown how horrible humanity really was. To target a whole planet was just unacceptable, and he could feel his blood boiling at the thought. Is this your doing, Epion? Are you the one bring out these feelings of hate and anger in me? Perhaps, this is your way of changing me like Wing Zero tried to, thought Naruto, as his eyes narrowed at the Gundam. Very well, I will channel this anger and hate, but do not think this means that I care. I am merely doing this to satisfy your own desires, said Naruto. He made the mistake of caring for another during the Blood Valentine War, and like always, she died because he had tried to help her. It was a mistake he didn't plan to make again, so he refused to admit he cared what would happen to Earth and was merely following orders to help. Hi, you aren't busy, are you? Asked a familiar voice. Naruto tilted his head and saw the cheerful face of Luna Maria walking towards him. No, replied Naruto as he went back to staring up at Epion. Luna shifted nervously because usually she was so sure of herself, but something about this man threw her off her game. She honestly wanted to go be with Athrun, but he is hanging out with that girl from ORB, so decided to come here to check up on her mobile and found Naruto already here staring up at his own mobile suit. I take it this Gundam is yours? Said Luna dumbly. What a stupid question to ask, of course it was his. Yes, said Naruto, not bothering to look at the girl much to her ire. I have never seen it before and I thought the Impulse was the only Gundam built in secret, said Luna as she stared up at the Gundam. Honestly, she thought it looked extremely cool, but didn't think that would be a proper thing to say to the commander. Its name is Epion and it was not built by ZFT, said Naruto. Ha! If it wasn't built by ZFT, then who built it? Asked Luna confused. I don't know, I received it after losing my first Gundam, answered Naruto truthfully. He still wasn't sure how he received Epion, but he did have an idea, though he didn't know what it meant if what he thought was true. Okay, well would you think it would be okay if I checked it out? Asked Luna with stars in her eyes. Naruto turned to face the girl completely and she gulped nervously from the cold look in his eyes. I would suggest you staying out of the cockpit. If you were to go in it, then there would be no guarantee that Epion wouldn't destroy your mind and leave you nothing but an empty shell, said Naruto as he stared at the girl a few seconds longer before taking his leave. Wow, that was just creepy, shivered Luna, but she couldn't help but wonder why he would say such a thing like that. Now she was even more curious about the strange Gundam residing next to the Impulse. Phantom ship. Captain Neo, I take it you have heard the news concerning Junius 7? Said Lord Jibril with a hard look in his eyes. Yes, I take it you want us to head over there and make sure that those coordinators aren't involved in the matter, replied Neo as he straightened the black mask that covered his face. I don't care whether this is a natural occurrence or not. I want you to videotape whatever ZFT is doing so that we can make it look like it was something they planned against us. This will help generate hate for those damn coordinators and then we will be able to crush them, smiled Lord Jibril. Of course, I will make sure to record as much footage as I can, sir, smirked Neo. Good, nodded Lord Jibril before closing the link. Neo just tapped his thoughtfully before heading to the bridge. Junius 7. Commander Jewel, we have almost reached Junius 7. The Minerva will be reaching it a few minutes after us, said the captain. Have all our Zakus prepped and prepared to launch. I want that damn rock destroyed as quickly as possible, ordered Izak. Will you be launching as well, Commander? Smirked Durka with a knowing look in his eyes. Of course, scowled Izak. All Zaku have been prepped and the demolition teams are ready to launch, relayed the captain. Have them launch immediately. I will be heading out as well, so make sure to keep this ship at a safe distance so you don't get pulled in by Earth's gravity, ordered Izak. Yes sir, saluted the captain. Let's get going, Commander, teased Durka as he was already waiting in the elevator. Izak just glared at him, but didn't say anything as he got in the elevator. Minerva. Athrun entered the bridge with a determined look in his eyes. He had finally decided to lend his help in destroying Junius 7 as it was the right thing to do. Of course, there was no guarantee that they would let him pilot a mobile suit, but he had to try. If one had the power to help, then they should use it to help. That is what Kira was always saying whenever he asked him why he continued to fight in the war. Athrun, I mean Alex, what brings you here? Asked Durandal, as he smiled at the young man. It's Athrun, and I would like permission to pilot the spare Zaku in the hangar. I want to help with the breaking up of Junius 7, said Athrun with a hard look in his eyes. What? I am sorry, but that is definitely out of the question. I cannot just go giving a civilian one of our mobile suits, replied Captain Gladys with a shake of her head. Last time he was given a mobile suit he turned traitor and joined an enemy force, said Naruto as he added his own input. Athrun clenched his fists at that comment, but didn't say anything because it wasn't a lie. I know I may be a civilian, but that should really be what matters at this point. You need all the help you can get to break up Junius 7 and I want to lend you my aid, argued Athrun firmly. Durandal had a contemplative look in his eyes before glancing at Naruto who just stood up and left the bridge, but not before giving a small nod of his head. Very well, Talia, I would like you to let Athrun pilot the spare Zaku to help with the breakup of Junius 7, said Durandal to the shock of the woman. Sir? Said Captain Gladys. I am vouching for him and we can no doubt use his skills out there. Do this for me Talia, smiled Durandal. If that is what you wish Chairman, sighed Captain Gladys before giving Athrun permission to take the spare Zaku. Thank you ma'am, saluted Athrun before taking his leave. Now Athrun Zala, you are falling right into my plans, thought Durandal with a satisfied smile. Junius 7. Damn, it's larger than I expected, said Shin as he flew down towards the remains of the colony. Sometimes you can be such an idiot, sighed Luna with a shake of her head. Minerva, this is Commander Uzumaki, said Naruto as he opened a link with the ship. His radar located the phantom ship that faced about a day ago and knew they would be launching the stolen Gundams. This is Captain Gladys, what is the status? Asked Captain Gladys as she appeared on his screen. Everyone else was listening on the conversation as well because they were curious as to why their commander had opened a link with the ship. Bogey 1 is coming towards Junius 7. They are about to launch Chaos, Gaia, and Abyss. You should also know that have picked up multiple flare motors all over Junius 7 that are the cause for its current course towards Earth, reported Naruto before transforming from his mobile armor form. Just as he finished transforming, several reports came in from the demolition crew that they were under attack by multiple Jin units and Bogey 1 had launched the stolen Gundams. What the hell, why are our own people attacking us? Yelled Shin, but didn't get time to think much on it when the chaos started to fire upon him. We have to protect the demolition crew at all costs, glared Athrun as he took off towards Junius 7 and let the others deal with the stolen Gundams. Ugh, not you again, cursed Luna as she started to engage the Gaia. Demolition crew. Son of a bitch, who the hell are these guys? Growled Azak as he took out a Jin that tried to sneak up behind him. Whoever they aren't rookies, said Durka before launching missiles from his Blaze Zaku, but most of them were avoided much to his ire. The Jins were concentrating most of their fire on the Zaku trying to launch the missiles inside Junius 7 to break it up. Izak and Durka both cursed as they realized that if this continued they wouldn't break up Junius 7 in time. They were about to go help, but found themselves dodging rapidly as 5 Jins started to open fire upon them. Bastards, yelled Izak as he was about to open fire, but gasped in surprise when what looked to be a metal whip cut right through 3 Jins with incredible ease. The other 2 Jins turned around, but one received a clawed fist through the cockpit and the other was wrapped up in the chain before it cut in half when it started to heat up. Its speed is incredible, spluttered Durka as he watched the demonic-looking Gundam removed its hand from the Jin's chest before it exploding in a shower of debris. The Gundam just looked at them both before speeding past them both down to the demolition teams to take out the other Jins. I never heard of ZFT making any other Gundam besides the Chaos, Abyss, and Gaia, said Izak as his eyes narrowed in suspicion. I am just glad it is on our side, shrugged Durka before heading to help the crews as well, but stopped when he noticed something that caught his eyes. What the hell? Looks like we have bigger problems than we thought, said Durka, as he dodged several beam shots from the Abyss that had headed towards them. More of our own mobile suits attacking us. Damn it, cursed Izak as he engaged the Abyss. Let them focus on the Gundams, I will take out the Jins and then destroy all those flare motors to slow down the descent, thought Naruto with a hard look in his eyes. He spotted 3 Jins ahead and drew his heat rod. The Jins started to open fire upon him, but he used Epion's superior speed to dodge in and out of every shot. Epion moved so fast that both Jin's pilots went wide-eyed when it appeared between them both. They didn't even get a chance to scream as Epion spun around like a top and its heat rod cut right through both Jins in one spin before taking off to deal with the third one. 10 more in this area left to go, thought Naruto. He glanced over at the corner of his eyes to see that Junius 7 was starting to break up, but still had a ways to go before they succeeded in destroying the fallen colony. Forget the flare motors, destroying those will not buy enough time. Let us see some of your true power Epion, thought Naruto as he put away his heat rod and drew his beam saber. The beam saber looked to be that of an average beam sword, but there was a main difference between it and others. Naruto could change the intensity and length of his beam sword since it was directly connected to his Gundam's core reactor. Epion raised the beam handle up above its head and a second later, a large bright purple beam burst out of it. The beam was so large that it was easily 3/4 foot the size of an average mobile suit. Naruto swung the blade at the ground of Junior 7 and watched as it easily cut through it, like a knife through butter. "Time to start cutting corners," said Naruto, but just as he was about to take off he was assaulted with a vision from his past. Flashback. "Still doing everything on your own, brat?" grunted Gamabunta as he looked over the battlefield with an impassive look in his eyes. All around there were dead bodies of ninjas, soldiers, and samurai. The giant toad didn't fail to notice that the only person left alive was the man standing on his head and felt sorry for the man. "I know you have come to hate your own race, but you do not have the right to judge others no matter what their crimes is," said Gamabunta as he took a puff from his pipe. "They slaughtered several villages for no reason, they deserved their fate," replied Naruto with a hard look in his eyes, but the conviction wasn't there. He just stood there staring at his blood-stained hands and felt only guilt at what he did. Why did he always have to be the one to feel guilty? Damn his emotions for making him feel this way. The age of ninja and samurai is coming to an end, and with it the power of us summons will soon disappear as well. This may be the last time I get the chance to speak with you after the 500 years you have held our contract, so listen closely," said Gamabunta with a hard look in his eyes. Naruto just sat down and closed his eyes because he knew the powerful toad spoke the truth. "I would like you to try your best to return to the man you once were. The man they called the Mutakikantai, who could take on a whole army by himself without breaking a sweat and would give his life to protect all those around him including those he didn't know. Only by doing this will you ever find true happiness and not through this emotionless mask you have started to embrace," said Gamabunta as he used his tongue to place Naruto on the ground in front of him. "Why? No matter who I protect, in the end, I always end up failing to protect them and I no longer wish to suffer through such pain," argued Naruto as he clenched his fists in anger. "You are the prophesized child that has the power to bring an end to any war and create peace, but not as you are now. Though we may be gone, you will always be recognized as part of the Toad family and our strength will always be with you. Take care, my son," smiled Gamabunta before disappearing in a large cloud of smoke. Naruto would never again see his surrogate family. "I will try to do as you asked, but it will prove futile. I have already lost all faith in humanity," thought Naruto before he started to pile up the dead bodies. End flashback. "That felt like a vision from Zero and not you, Epion," thought Naruto as he cleared his head and gripped the beam saber tightly. Mutakikantai, one-man armada, was the name given to him because of his mastery of the Kage Bunshin and all other clone-type jutsu. Like his father, he had become feared after taking out over 500 enemy ninja with just the use of his clones and no help from allies. It was a name he left behind just like the rest of his past over 1,000 years ago once the era of technology came around. Naruto gripped the beam saber even tighter because he refused to let the vision affect him, but it was proving futile as he kept receiving more and more detailed images of his past. Finally, it became too much and he shouted in anger. "Fine, just stop sending me those visions of my past," panted Naruto, as he couldn't take the feeling of seeing the ones he loved all over again. Damn Epion and Zero for conspiring against him like this. "You won this battle, but next time I will not be tricked so easily," thought Naruto angrily, as his body started to glow. Had anyone been watching Epion they would have thought their eyes had gone bad as more than one started to appear all holding a large purple beam saber. Seconds later, 5 different colored Epion Gundams took off in different directions and started to break up Junior 7 along with taking out any Jin units they came across. Minerva. Captain, I think our radar is having some technical difficulties," stuttered Arthur, as he stared down at the readings in confusion. "What do you mean?" asked Captain Gladys, confused. "Well, just a second ago I was getting a clear reading on every one of our mobile suits, but now I am getting reading that there are 5 Epion Gundams out there," replied Arthur with a slight frown. "That is interesting," said Durandal, not understand what that meant. "It was probably just a glitch, which is what everyone else put it off to as well. Ma'am, the demolition crews managed to split Junior 7 in half and Commander Uzumaki has started to break it down into smaller pieces at an incredible rate. His Gundam's power output is off the charts and he is only using a single beam saber and his heat rod to destroy the large pieces that have towards Earth," gasped Marin in shock. "Very well, Chairman, I think it would be best if you took the escape ship out of here as the Minerva will be going down into the atmosphere to fire our bow gun," said Captain Gladys to the shock of the whole crew. While they all talked, Kigali just stared there, clenching her seat in anger. Why? Why would he be so willing to help save Earth when he is the one who destroyed Boaz and ORB without a shred of hesitation? Thought Kigali, confused and angry at the same time. Recall all our mobile suits immediately, and prepare to fire our bow gun, ordered Captain Gladys as the chairman left the bridge, but Kigali stayed because she wouldn't leave Ithrun behind. Break. ZFT succeeded in their goal of breaking up Junius 7, but that didn't mean they were completely successful in their mission. Despite their combined efforts, many pieces of debris from the colony still fell to Earth, hundreds of thousands of people were killed or injured by the debris, and the numbers kept increasing by the moment. The debris destroyed the cities of Rome, Athens, and Philadelphia. There was only one person who was truly happy of this development, and that was Lord Jibril, current leader of Blue Cosmos. He quickly used the footage sent to him by his Phantom unit and broadcasted it all over the nations of Earth. The hate generated from his edited footage caused the general populace to blame ZAFT and the plants for what happened and declared blood for their actions. This signaled the start of the Second Blood Valentine War between ZAFT and the Earth Alliance forces. Chapter 10. Amazing, just simply amazing, gasped Arthur as he watched the footage of the battle that happened on Junius 7. It had been a day since they had landed on Earth's surface, and they were currently making their way towards ORB to deliver Kigali. Yes, I would have never thought a Gundam with no long-range capabilities would be able to offer so much assistance. The commander saved many lives by breaking down most of the large pieces of debris after the demolition team managed to split it in half, commented Captain Gladys as she watched the battle with Arthur. I can see now why he is a member of Faith. I would say his skills rival those of the veteran fighters at Jachindu, said Arthur. I wonder where he has been lately. I haven't seen him since he landed in the hangar and went to his personal quarters, frowned Captain Gladys thoughtfully. Arthur just shrugged because he didn't know where the commander was at either. Naruto's room. Naruto was currently lying down on his bed and had been for the 14 hours. Usually, after a battle, he would spend his time checking over his unit to make sure it was okay, but he is currently suffering from chakra exhaustion, so couldn't. Making 4 identical to something as large as a mobile suit is no easy feat and took up almost all his chakra. He refused to show any weakness, so decided to rest until he was back to 100 or at least 90 of his original strength before moving around again. The weird thing is that he was holding up his right hand and staring at a beautiful white feather that he was twirling around in his hand. If someone had seen him doing this, they would probably be curious as to how he got the feather, as he didn't have it before they landed on the Earth's surface and he hadn't been outside since, so couldn't have found it on the deck. The truth was, he had found the feather floating in front of his Gundam after he dispelled his jutsu before returning to the Minerva. It was crazy to think that a feather was floating around in outer space, but it was the truth, and it confused him because there was something familiar about this particular feather. He felt a connection to it, but didn't know why. Animals can't survive in space, and this didn't come from the remains of Junius 7, so where did it come from, thought Naruto, as he twirled the feather between his fingers. Was it some type of sign or message that he was supposed to recognize? Ever since I have started to pilot Zero and Epion, weird things have been happening, but this is even beyond my reasoning, sighed Naruto as he continued to stare at the feather as if it would tell him everything he wanted to know. The life of a warrior was never easy, but throw in a manipulative Gundam and life just became so much more complicated. It was times like these he regretted accepting the position to pilot a Gundam. Perhaps it is time I take a walk. I grow tired of these thoughts, thought Naruto as he slowly got up, but not before placing the feather inside his uniform where it would be safe. Minerva's deck. Kigali and Ithrun along with many other members of the crew were outside on the deck looking at the Pacific Ocean. For many of the crew it was the first time they had ever been to Earth and were just amazed by the sight, though it wasn't such a beautiful sight with the dark skies above them. Still, the sight was nonetheless amazing to them as they had never seen such a large body of water in their lives. I am glad you are safe, Ithrun. I didn't expect you to go off in a mobile suit like that, smiled Kigali. I'm sorry for not letting you know of my actions, but it was something I needed to do, apologized Ithrun. No, it's fine. Besides, I am sure the people of Earth are very grateful, started Kigali, before she was interrupted. Shut up, you're such an idiot, yelled Shin, as he couldn't take listening to the girl anymore. He glared at Kigali with a deep hatred in his eyes. The boy hated ORB with a passion, though no one knew why. Apparently, he had been listening in on the conversation and finally grew tired of Kigali and her speeches. You were on the bridge, so you must have seen what was going on. Those soldiers were justifying their actions by carrying on the will of the former chairman Patrick Zala. Yet, you don't even seem to care because all that matters to you is your precious ORB, growled Shin, but before he could say anything more, he felt a hand on his shoulder and turned around to see Commander Uzumaki looking at him dispassionately. Naruto didn't even bother to say anything, but Shin got the message loud and clear. The boy either shuts up and keeps his comments to himself or he would be in major trouble. Shin just glared at Kigali one last time before heading back inside the Minerva with an angry scowl on his face. I apologize for the disturbance, representative, said Naruto before heading over to the edge of the deck to stare out at the ocean. Athrun looked at Kigali and when he saw the way she was glaring at Naruto, he knew he needed to get her away from him before she did something stupid. Just because he wasn't in a mobile suit didn't mean the man wasn't a threat to them, and Athrun didn't want to see Kigali get hurt. Come on Kigali, let's head back inside, urged Athrun with a look that left no room for argument. Kigali wanted to say something, but when she saw that look in his eyes, knew better and kept her mouth shut. She merely glared at Naruto one last time before heading back inside with Athrun at her side. Wow, I can't believe you were able to silence Shin with just a mere glance. Usually, when he gets all angry like that it is impossible to shut him up until he stops ranting, smiled Luna, as she walked up next to Naruto. Naruto just glanced at her with a blank look in his eyes before surprising her by leaping down onto one of the wings. Luna gasped in surprise as he jumped down about 10 or so feet and landed lightly on his feet. She watched him as he kneeled down and placed his hand in the water and let pass through his fingers as the ship continued to move at a decent pace. He is so strange, thought Luna, but her thoughts were interrupted when her eyes widened in disbelief as a couple of dolphins started to swim up near the wing where the commander was. They easily kept pace with the ship and even jumped so close to the commander that he ran his hands over their smooth wet skin. It was a captivating sight and Luna couldn't take her eyes off it. Luna had never seen such wonderful animals before and couldn't stop herself from wondering what it would be like to be close to one. They looked so beautiful and majestic. If it weren't for the fact that she was scared of upsetting her commander, she probably would have jumped down there and seen if he would let her join him. Athrun. Athrun slammed his fist into the wall as he was now walking the hallway all by himself. He kept remembering what the leader of those Jin said to him about how the path chosen by Patrick Zala was the right one to take. It made him feel like all the deaths that had occurred from the falling debris of Junius 7 was his fault because the man who inspired them to do such an act was his father. His own father was the one who originally wanted to kill all naturals and now it seemed others were starting to follow his example. Damn it all, muttered Athrun angrily before punching the wall again. HN, you do not belong here Athrun Zala, said a cold voice that Athrun immediately recognized. He turned around to see Naruto walking towards him with an emotionless look in his piercing blue eyes. What are you talking about? Asked Athrun, as the comment was so random. Do not join ZFT, said Naruto as he walked past Athrun. You are making no sense. I am a part of ORB not ZFT, replied Athrun confused. Naruto stopped walking and turned his head to glance at the young man before replying. I do not want you as an ally. I would much rather be fighting against you, as you are one of the few people that can give me a challenge. When the second war officially starts, do not join ZFT, explained Naruto before leaving as he was done talking to the boy. Athrun wanted to ask him something more, but couldn't as Naruto had disappeared around a corner and out of his view. So he was stuck there in the hallway alone again, with nothing but the man's last words to him. Don't join ZFT. Why would he think I would join ZFT knowing I am a part of ORB, thought Athrun. Never mind, it is time I get some answers from him, thought Athrun with a determined look as he started to walk in the direction of the man. It wasn't long before he spotted Naruto leaning against the doorway with a bored look on his face. He was about to speak with him, when he heard gunshots going off and turned his head to see some pilots and crew members doing target practice. Oh hi, said Luna cheerfully, as she saw Athrun and Naruto watching them practice. Training exercises? Said Athrun with a small smile, as he remembered the days when he had to go through much of the same thing. Yeah, it is mandatory, but they let us do it outside this time. As you can see, I am not doing too well, sighed Luna as she reloaded her clips. Would you like to give it a try? Asked Luna curiously. Athrun was surprised by the question, but quickly declined. Oh, no thanks, replied Athrun with a shake of his head. Luna just raised her eyebrow at his reaction before turning to face him completely. All of us know who you are pretty well, confessed Luna as she removed training glasses and looked Athrun in his eyes. You are a former ZFT Red and a member of the Clue's team. During the middle of the war, you are responsible for destroying the Strike Gundam, which was considered the most powerful mobile suit at the time, said Luna as she started to read off his brief history. Later, you joined a special military team that took direct orders from the chairman and were assigned to be the pilot of the ZGMFX-098 Justice, said Luna with a small smirk. Athrun's eyes narrowed slightly because he didn't like where he thought this was going. Naruto just remained silent, but his eyes narrowed slightly as well because the girl was leaving out a very important detail. I don't know much about your father, but you're a hero among us. Especially considering what you did at the Battle of Jachindu, smiled Luna as she walked towards Athrun. Well, spluttered Athrun as the girl walked towards him. You forgot to mention that he is a traitor who betrayed his own people and stole the Gundam he was so famous for piloting, said Naruto, causing everyone to look at him. Athrun looked down at the ground because he knew the man was speaking the truth and there was no denying it. Idolize him for his impressive abilities with a mobile suit and his tactical mind, but not for who he is because in the end, he was declared a traitor and betrayed those who put their trust in him, stated Naruto, but before he could take his leave Kigali blocked his path with a heavy glare on her face. Who are you to speak to him like that? He did what he did because it was the right thing to do and you believe you have the right to judge him, glared Kigali as everyone stopped what they were doing to listen to the conversation. Whether he fought for the right side or not, when you swear your loyalty to a cause you do not abandon your comrades who place their faith in you, replied Naruto with a slight narrowing of his eyes. What about you? Aren't you a traitor as well since you are now a part of ZFT? Argued Kigali fiercely. No, because I was let go after the first war ended, which means I no longer had ties to any nation when I was recruited to join ZFT, said Naruto. So he should have just stayed with ZFT and helped them destroy Earth instead of helping to end the war like he ended up doing, glared Kigali. Yes, answered Naruto simply. You bastard, of course someone like you would say that, yelled Kigali, as everyone looked at her confused except Athrun. Even Shin, who had just come for some target practice, stood in the doorway confused instead of taking the chance to take his anger out on the girl. None of them had any idea what Kigali was talking about as she yelled at their commander. Why don't you tell everyone aboard this ship who you really are? Naruto Uzumaki, former member of the Earth Alliance forces, and pilot of the unknown Gundam that destroyed Boaz in one shot along with helping for the destruction of my home nation, ORB, glared Kigali, as her fists had turned white from clenching them so hard. No way, gasped Luna in horror along with Marin, Ray, and Shin. Wing Zero was the name of the Gundam I used to pilot during the war, replied Naruto. Kigali just looked at him shocked because she couldn't believe how calm he was acting and it made her even angrier, but before she could hit him, Athrun grabbed hold of her. Naruto just brushed past them as Shin was still in too much shock to do anything, but watch him leave. Shin could still clearly remember how his whole family was killed, including his baby sister, during the invasion of ORB, and now found out his commander was the one who piloted the Gundam who helped destroy ORB. Luna and Marin were no better off as they remembered what happened to Boaz as they had friends that were stationed there during the First War. Ray stood there calmly, but his eyes were narrowed with a calculating look in them as he now realized why the chairman had recruited that man to ZFT. It was suffice to say that Naruto's stay on the Minerva was about to get much more complicated as it didn't take long before the whole crew knew his true identity. Chapter 11. Captain, what do you plan to do about Commander Uzumaki? Asked Arthur, as his eyes narrowed in a bit of anger. The whole crew had been alerted to who Commander Uzumaki really was, and since then there had been a rise of hostility aboard the ship towards the man. It was lucky they were about to reach ORB in a few hours, otherwise who knows what would have happened. There is nothing I can do about him because whether you like it or not, he outranks me. He is a member of Faith, which means he only answers to the chairman, and unless you want the chairman to demote us all and assign the Minerva a new crew, I suggest everyone needs to calm down, said Captain Gladys with a hard look in her eyes as she gazed over at the others who were on the bridge with her. Arthur was about to say something else, but was silenced when the captain interrupted him. Listen, I know what you and everyone else is feeling towards that man since I had many friends and people I considered family killed at the destruction of Boaz, but we are soldiers of ZFT. You will do as you are told, because I will not allow there to be insubordination on my ship. If anyone makes an aggressive move towards Commander Uzumaki, then I will personally put you behind bars for the rest of your military career, so make sure everyone else aboard the ship understands that, finished Captain Gladys, and everyone just nodded their head grimly. Captain, we are within ORB borders and they have sent us a message welcoming us to their nation. We have also received permission to dock, relayed Marin. All right then, let everyone know that we will be docking in 20 minutes in ORB, ordered Captain Gladys. Yes ma'am, replied Arthur before relaying the orders. Athrun and Kigali. Kigali was sitting on her bed and staring at her hands to avoid the piercing look Athrun was giving her. She knew why he was giving her look and knew she deserved it, but wasn't sorry for what she did. "Will you stop looking at me like that?" grumbled Kigali angrily. "I understand that you are upset with him, but what you did was just plain childish. How many times have I told you to control your emotions as you represent ORB and can't afford to speak without thinking," sighed Athrun. "I know, okay, I know, but they were going to find out eventually so it doesn't really matter," said Kigali defensively. Athrun just frowned at her, which caused her to stand up and huff at him angrily. "Yes, but in your anger, you forgot to mention how he saved millions of lives because of his efforts at Junior 7, which exceeded my own efforts. He probably even saved ORB from destruction with all the debris he destroyed," pointed out Athrun. "Fine, I will go apologize, but I won't mean it," grumbled Kigali, as she left the room, causing Athrun to shake his head at the girl. He may love her, but sometimes she could be so thick-headed. Minerva Hanger. It feels oddly comfortable to be hated. So much easier to deal with than to have everyone looking at me in awe and respect, thought Naruto as he stared up at Epion. In less than 20 hours, he had once again become the most hated man on the planet, well, at least on the Minerva. It was amusing to see the looks of betrayal on some of the crew members' faces as they learned his identity, which was stupid because he never lied to them about who he was. He had always used his true name, so it wasn't like he gave them a fake name and background. The fact of the matter is they never cared to ask him more about his background, and as long as they didn't ask him something too personal, he would have freely admitted he fought with the Earth forces in the Blood Valentine War. Oh well, it didn't bother Naruto one bit because he was used to being hated and feared, so it wouldn't stop him from doing his job. He was a soldier of ZFT now and he would do his duty. That was all there was to it, and if someone tried to take revenge on him for what he did, then he would deal with them accordingly. "Did you want something?" asked Naruto as he glanced backwards and saw the ORB princess glaring at him. He had sensed her about 2 minutes ago, but decided to ignore for the moment as he finished going over his thoughts. "I came to apologize," mumbled Kigali as she walked up to Naruto and stood in front of him with a defiant look in her eyes. "No," replied Naruto, to the confusion of the girl. "What do you mean no?" "I am trying to say sorry and you are just brushing me off," growled Kigali angrily. "You aren't sorry for what you did, so there is no point in you apologizing," said Naruto, still not bothering to look at the girl. "Arg, whatever, I tried to be nice," scowled Kigali before leaving the hangar. Naruto just glanced at the girl before returning to his conversation with Epion, Shin, Rei, and Luna. Shin was glaring at his plate of food while he brooded on the new information he had received last night about Commander Uzumaki. He had always blamed the Atha family for the death of his baby sister along with his mother and father, because if they had just signed the treaty with the Earth Alliance, then ORB never would have been attacked. Now though his anger was directed at his commander as well, now that he knew he was the pilot of Wing Zero, which played a major role in capturing and destroying ORB. Unlike everyone else, he couldn't care less what the man had done at Boaz, but what he did at ORB, but knew he couldn't do anything against the man without being severely reprimanded. Luna sat across from her two friends and she was having many of the same thoughts they were having about their new commander. She had respected him greatly for his piloting skills and position above them as a member of Faith, but now she didn't know what to think. He was the former pilot of Wing Zero that had destroyed Boaz with a single shot and killed many of her family friends that were stationed there. Then again, she had watched the battle footage of Junior 7 and knew that he had also saved millions during the Junior 7 incident, both naturals and coordinators who lived on Earth instead of at the plants. It was as if his bad deeds with the Earth Alliance were made up for his good deeds while serving with ZAFT. Luna was conflicted on whether she should dislike her commander or not. Rei was the last member of the group, which was sitting at their table with a contemplative look as he thought about Commander Uzumaki. He had always known the man was different, and finding out he was the pilot of Wing Zero explained so much. The only problem he saw was that he believed it was impossible for a natural to possess such piloting abilities. There was just no way Commander Uzumaki could be a natural when he possessed such high reflexes along with hand and eye coordination. He planned on finding out more about his commander and learning all his secrets before this new war ended. "Attention all crew, we will be reaching ORB shortly." "Repeat, we will be reaching ORB shortly," announced Captain Gladys over the speakers. "Well, at least we will finally be able to get some rest," said Luna with a hesitant smile. Shin's glare just intensified before he stood up angrily and stomped out of the mess hall to go to his room to brood alone. "Don't get too comfortable, chances are we will spend most of our time fixing repairs to the ship," said Ray as much as a killjoy as ever before taking his leave as well. Luna just sighed and wondered how she ever became friends with the two stiffest people in the world. Maybe she should go visit Ithrun before he leaves for ORB permanently. ORB. I want to thank you for everything you have done for us, Captain Gladys. We are extremely grateful, bowed Kigali with a warm smile on her face. It was our pleasure, Representative, and thank you again for allowing us to do our repairs here, smiled Captain Gladys with a bow of her own. Come Kigali, it is time for us to go, said Ithrun as he came up behind the two women on the ramp. Kigali was about to say something, but didn't get a chance when a familiar annoying voice caused her to turn around in surprise. Kigali, you are back. I am so happy to see you safe, yelled a man with short purple hair as he ran towards the girl with a large smile on his face. Yuna, said Kigali in surprise, before stiffening as the man hugged her. Ithrun's eyes narrowed in anger, but he kept his mouth shut as it wasn't his place to say anything. Come Yuna, this isn't the place for such actions, said an elderly man with short gray hair. Yunata, it is good to see you and the others, smiled Kigali, at the man who was Yuna's father. We are glad to see you safe and sound, bowed Yunata along with the other council members behind him. I am sorry I wasn't here during this crucial time. How is the damage to ORB? Asked Kigali worried. There was a bit of coastal damage, but luckily, ORB itself didn't take any direct hits. I will tell you more about the rest in the meeting later, whispered Yunata. Sir, I am Captain Talia Gladys of the Minerva, saluted Captain Gladys. Arthur Trine, Executive Officer of the Minerva, saluted Arthur. Commander Naruto Uzumaki, personal envoy of the chairman of ZFT Gilbert Durandal, said Naruto, but didn't salute any of them men like his fellow officers. Naruto Uzumaki? Gasped Yunata with wide eyes, but turned in surprise when he felt Kigali's hand on his shoulder. The rest of the representatives were looking at Naruto with either hate or fear as well because they knew very well who he was. ORB's information networks were just as good as they had been back in the war as they are now. Now is not the place, I will explain everything to you in the meeting as well, said Kigali, as she glanced at Naruto with unconcealed anger. I understand, bowed Yunata, but he had other thoughts running through his mind. It might be easier than ever to convince Kigali to accept the alliance to the Earth forces if he could play on the Council's hatred of Naruto Uzumaki. Not only that, but he would be rewards handsomely by Lord Jibril if he had some of ORB's finest capture the man and force him to tell them where his Gundam was. Yes, perhaps, the Minerva coming to ORB wasn't such a bad thing after all. Poor fool, he didn't even realize that by thinking these thoughts he would be condemning ORB to be destroyed by the man a second time. Some people just never learn to not mess with powers far greater than their own. Elsewhere. It seems Kigali has returned safe and sound, said Andrew Waltfeld, as he stared down at the Minerva. Yes, but I wonder if that is a good thing. She is still so young, and while she had been gone the Saren family has been making deals with the Atlantic Federation, frowned Moreau, former captain of the Archangel. Yeah, no doubt she will have her work cut out of her, agreed Andrew with a slight frown. He didn't get to say anything more, when he heard Moreau gasp, and turned to see a look of shock and disbelief on her face. It's him, spluttered Moreau. Ha! Replied Andrew, before following her line of sight to a tall blond man, standing next to the captain of the Minerva. His eyes narrowed as the man seemed familiar, but he couldn't place where he knew him. That's Captain Naruto Uzumaki, but what is he doing with ZFT? Said Moreau in disbelief. Perhaps we have bigger problems than the Atlantic Federation, frowned Andrew, before taking a step back reflexively with Moreau as the said man turned to look up at them both through emotionless blue eyes. Impossible, does he recognize us and how did he know we are here, thought Andrew before grabbing Moreau and dragging her away from the window. They needed to get out of here before that man was able to truly discover who they really were. Break. I am sorry, said Naruto, as he kneeled down and placed a bouquet of flowers down on the memorial site for all those who died during the destruction of ORB in the war. He may have been under orders to destroy ORB, but that doesn't mean he took any joy in it. Tell the truth, he was disappointed in the way ORB had acted during the First War and felt sorry for them even now. The nation is a beautiful place where naturals and coordinators seem to get along peacefully, but because of their foolish leaders they suffered greatly. Lord Izumi, adoptive father of Kigali, was no doubt a very wise and passionate man. His ideals were the basis for ORB that had kept it out of the war until the very end, but in Naruto's opinion, he was a horrible leader. The man was selfish, and sacrificed a whole nation just to uphold some foolish ideals. Being a leader wasn't about making sure you kept to your ideals, but making sure all those that followed you were protected from harm at all costs. The man had made his nation a huge target by taking in a renegade warship, the Archangel, and housing 2 stolen Gundams from ZAFT, the Justice and Freedom. A true leader would have never done this because it made his nation a target of both sides, and that is unacceptable. It was like housing several S-ranked nuke and having 2 villages declare war on you because you refused to give them up. Whether they were good people or not, who suffered injustices at the hands of their village, which made them nuke, you gave them up because what mattered most was the safety of your people and not several individuals. Not only that, but he could have saved ORB by agreeing to a treaty with the Earth forces. Sometimes one had to sacrifice their pride and beliefs if it meant saving the majority of people, but once again, Lord Izumi had let his ideals get in the way of simple logic. Naruto knew for a fact that had ORB joined the Earth forces, any attempts to be invaded by ZFT would have been easily held off as they didn't have the manpower to fight ORB and the Earth forces, especially when the Earth Alliance had just come up with their new strike dagger units. Of course, what angered Naruto the most was that the man had stayed behind along with the other council members to die with their destroyed country as if it would make up for sacrificing their entire nation. Such people just didn't deserve to be given the power to lead anyone, as they forgot that the important part was protecting their people and not their damn pride. Now his daughter rules the nation, but she is unfit for such a role. I feel sorry for this nation, thought Naruto, before standing up and staring up into the beautiful blue sky. His peaceful moment was interrupted when he heard a beautiful singing and turned around to see a beautiful girl with long flowing pink hair and a boy with short brown hair coming up to the memorial site from the beach. He knew who they were and wasn't in the least bit surprised to see either of them, Kira Yamato and Lakis Klein. The young man noticed him first and froze as he looked at Naruto with a surprised look on his face. The young woman stopped singing when she noticed the young man besides her stopped walking and looked up to see what he was staring at. She looked at Naruto curiously before flashing him a beautiful, but was stopped from saying anything when Kira started to speak. "It's you," said Kira as he composed himself. "It is a pleasure to meet you, pilot of the Freedom, Kira Yamato," said Naruto as he stared into the young man's eyes. "Who is he, Kira?" asked Lakis with a hint of worry. "He is Naruto Uzumaki, pilot of the Wing Zero," answered Kira, causing Lakis to look at Naruto in surprise. Kira knew this because he had spoke with Athrun earlier today and learned all about what had happened, including information on Zaft's commander. "It is nice to meet you as well, Lakis Klein," nodded Naruto at the girl. "You as well, Mr. Uzumaki," smiled Lakis. He was so different that she had expected him to be, as everyone made him out to be some horrible killer, but that isn't what she saw when she looked into his eyes. No, to some his eyes may be cold and uncaring, but she could see the great pain and anguish they held. This man was not some killer or evil person, but just someone who was suffering from a great deal of pain. Her heart cried out for him because she wished she could help him as he looked so lost. "We will meet again," said Naruto before taking his leave of the place. There was no more reason to be here as he had paid his respects, which is what he came to do in the first place. Kira and Lakis both watched him leave with different thoughts about the man they had just met. "He is suffering," whispered Lakis with a caring look in her eyes. Kira didn't know what to say to that, so just remained quiet, but soon reminded Lakis of why they had come. Soon both returned to their original goal of paying respects to the memorial site and were surprised to see a bouquet of flowers already in front of the tomb. "Did he leave these?" asked Kira, surprised. "It seems, he is not the cold-hearted person we believed him to be," smiled Lakis as she placed their own set of flowers next to the ones already there. "Plants. Sir, we have just received a message from the Earth Alliance and Atlantic Federation," saluted a soldier. "Thank you, you may leave," said Durandal as he took the documents. The soldier just saluted one last time before taking his leave. So it has finally begun. "They are demanding we meet this list of demands or they will take hostile actions against us," thought Durandal as he read over the documents. He would need to put his forces on high alert, and there was no way he was going to cave to these demands, and this would cause the Earth Alliance and Atlantic Federation to attack them. "I think they will be quite surprised once we easily thwart any attack they attempt on us. I must thank you, Lord Jibril, because once I stop this attack, then I can release the true footage of what happened on June 7. Then I will have the support of the people and my plan can be finally put into motion," smiled Durandal. With this thought, he placed the documents off to the side and hit the button on his intercom. "Sir," said a voice over the intercom. "Hello, I would like you to bring Miss Lakis to me," said Durandal with a glint in his eyes. "Yes, sir," replied the voice before the link closed. Now Mir, you will finally get your dream of being loved by everyone while helping me rally the support of not only the coordinators, but the naturals as well, smiled Durandal as he leaned back in his chair with a satisfied look on his face. ORB, unknown location underground. Freedom, I had a feeling you were still around, thought Naruto as he stood in front of the powerful mobile suit. It was just as imposing, yet beautiful as he remembered it. He could tell from meeting Kira earlier that the boy had grown and would be a much better fighter once the Second War started. Yes, perhaps this time, you and your pilot will be able to grant my wish and kill me in battle. Until then, don't let anyone else destroy you, said Naruto before fading into the shadows as if they were one and the same. Chapter 12. Kigali sighed as she sat at her desk with a depressed look on her face. She wished a Thrun was here, but he had gone to the plants to speak with the chairman concerning the footage that was released. Now she had to deal with the council forming a treaty with the Atlantic Federation, which would put ORB on their side during this rising crisis. She had tried so hard to keep up with her father's ideals, but she didn't want to see ORB destroyed again because she refused to make a treaty. Yuna and his father made it quite clear that sacrificing ORB and its people for a bunch of ideals was foolish and irresponsible. Kigali knew they were right, but she still felt forming a treaty with the Atlantic Federation was a mistake. Why is this happening? The war was supposed to be over and a time of peace was supposed to be going on, thought Kigali with a sigh before looking over at the photo of her father. What should I do, father? I am so lost, said Kigali as she touched his picture lightly. Minerva. I can't believe this happening and they are actually going to declare us as enemies, said Arthur in disbelief. Yes, it seems all that we have worked for is about to be destroyed because of some false footage, sighed Talia. Naruto didn't say anything, but continued to watch the video feed of the president giving a speech about the list of demands they have made towards ZFT. They were all located on the bridge at the moment, while watching the feed while everyone else was probably in the recreational or mess hall watching the news as well. Commander, you don't seem too surprised by what is occurring, said Talia as she looked over at Naruto. Arthur glanced his head over at Naruto, but knew better than to glare at him because last time he did, he thought he was going to have a heart attack from the cold look he was given. No, I am not, replied Naruto simply. Talia sighed because she knew he wouldn't elaborate until asked because that was how he was. If you don't mind, I would like to know your opinion on why you think the president of the Earth Forces would be doing something like this instead of trying to maintain the peace, said Talia. The same reason those terrorists tried to drop Junius 7 on the Earth. Revenge, explained Naruto as he glanced at the woman before looking back up at the screen. They can't really believe we will meet these demands, do they? Asked Arthur. It isn't about meeting the demands, it is about gaining control, and placing the blame on someone to gain favor. They are using the Junius 7 to justify their actions without worrying about any political ramifications. Millions of people just died. It is the perfect opportunity to manipulate the population's emotions and keep them from looking at all the facts, stated Naruto. Yes, it would seem they are doing a good job at it as well, frowned Talia. Replied Naruto before pushing off the wall and making his way out of the bridge. Talia and Arthur just watched him leave with matching contemplative looks in their eyes and couldn't help but wonder where he was going. Plants. Sir, the Earth forces have launched from their lunar base and are headed towards the plants, reported a soldier. Alert the defense forces immediately and prepare to defend the plants at all costs, ordered the chairman. The soldier saluted before he went off to do as he was told. The chairman had contemplated look in his eyes before he received a message on his terminal from his private line. Ah, Naruto-san, I have been waiting for your call. Did you find out anything? Asked Durandal with a smile. Zero was easily able to hack into all satellite communications and predict the current course of action by the Earth forces. They will be using their main force as a distraction while they attack you from the polar northern side with nukes, relayed Naruto as he appeared on the screen. It was easily to tell that he was in his cockpit from the way he was sitting and the background. It seems we will have to test our newest weapon then if it has come to nukes, frowned Durandal. According to all calculations, the neutron stampeder will wipe out all the nuclear weapons, but you will need to fire it when the nukes come within this distance, said Naruto. Very well, I will have the Nazca-class ship with the neutron stampeder waiting for the Earth forces, smiled Durandal. I will not be able to hack into the satellite feed again with the Zero system as they will no doubt realize I used my old access code and change it, said Naruto before closing the link. Durandal already knew that and was okay with it because next time they would be more prepared than they were now. Break. ZFT had successfully repelled the Earth forces using their new weapon, the neutron stampeder, to destroy the entire nuclear task force sent after them. The plant's people who had started to lose faith in the chairman soon gave him their full support because of the defensive measure he used to protect the plants. The Earth forces were in shock because they had expected to be done with the plants, but instead they were forced to retreat. Now they looked like complete fools while the chairman looked like a hero for not pressing his advantage and continuing negotiation for a peaceful solution. One man in particular was extremely pissed off, and that was Lord Jibril, because his plan to destroy the plants was falling apart. Even his own supporters were turning against him as his plan had failed, and they were now facing heavy persecution from their people. Lord Jibril knew he would be forced to do something and do it quick before all his plans fell apart and he lost his influence. Nighttime ORB. Ray had just finished his shooting exercises and was heading back to his room to get some sleep when he heard some noises coming from the hangar. He decided to go check it out, but not before getting out his gun just in case it posed a threat to him. Silently making his way to the hangar, he stuck to the shadows, and soon made his way into the hangar, where he was surprised to see his commander surrounded by a bunch of knocked-out soldiers. It didn't take him long to recognize that none of the soldiers were ZAFT, but before he could take a closer look, a voice behind him made him freeze in horror. "They are soldiers of ORB Special Ops," said Naruto, as he appeared beside Ray from out of nowhere. "Impossible, there is no way he could have covered that much distance in so short a time without me noticing him," thought Ray as he turned his head and looked at Naruto in disbelief. "Why are ORB soldiers here?" asked Ray as he regained his composure and put his gun away. He wanted to ask how Naruto got behind him, but knew that the man probably wouldn't tell him. "They wanted to kill or perhaps capture me along with Epion," answered Naruto before walking over to the fallen soldiers. Ray followed beside him and started to help his commander carry the bodies out of the Minerva. As a coordinator, he had enhanced strength and was easily able to carry 2 men, but was once again shocked when he turned to see Naruto carrying the other 4 without any type of strain. "Come, I know a place where we can leave them," said Naruto as he led the way out of the hangar and off the Minerva. "How were they able to get so far into the ship without detection?" asked Ray curiously. "ORB is the one making repairs on our ship, and to do that they need certain design plans," replied Naruto. "They were able to disable the security measures using the designs," finished Ray in understanding. Naruto just nodded their head as they made their way down the ramp. "Over here," said Naruto as he led the way towards a corner of the dock bay where he tossed the 4 bodies in the corner. Ray followed suit and soon 6 bodies were piled on top of each other hidden in the corner. They were dead otherwise. They would have tossed the bodies into the ocean, but they would wake up with some major cramps from the position they were in. "Why did you not kill them?" asked Ray as he walked back to the ship with his commander. Naruto stopped walking, pulled out his gun, and loaded it before handing it to Ray. "Why don't you?" asked Naruto impassively. Ray held the gun and turned to the men lying unconscious in a pile before taking aim with the gun. He glanced at Naruto and saw the man was looking at him without a shred of emotion in his eyes. Ray just looked at the unconscious men, but for some reason he couldn't pull the trigger. This confused him because he should have no problem killing these men since they had snuck onto the Minerva and were planning to kill a man that the chairman had planned to use in his future plans. To him that was unacceptable, as the chairman was like a father to him, and anyone who went against the chairman Durandal deserved to be eliminated. So why couldn't he kill these men? Said Naruto before taking his gun back, then heading towards the Minerva. "Why couldn't I kill them?" thought Ray as he looked down at the ground with a confused look in his eyes. ORB. Lakis couldn't sleep as she heard about how the Earth forces attacking the plants with nukes and feared another war coming. She had hoped that the animosity between naturals and coordinators had lessened, but she was wrong. So here she was walking around the beach in bare feet and felt the cold sand running through her feet. She was surprised to see that someone else was also outside and recognized the person as the man she had met earlier with Kira. "Hello," smiled Lakis, as she slowly approached the man. Naruto turned his head to the side and glanced at the woman before returning his gaze towards the ocean. Replied Naruto with an unreadable look in his eyes. "I am sorry if I am bothering you, but I was hoping to get the chance to meet you again," said Lakis as she looked at him with that same beautiful smile. "My reasons for fighting are my own," said Naruto randomly. Lakis just frowned though, because he seemed to know exactly what she wanted to ask him. "I understand, and I don't mean to pry, but you don't seem like the kind of person who fights for just the simple reason of following orders," said Lakis. "Someone who betrays their own people could never understand the concept of loyalty," replied Naruto coldly, before walking away from the girl. "I did what I thought was right to bring peace." "Is that so wrong?" asked Lakis, but received no reply as Naruto continued to walk away. Now she felt bad because she didn't mean to upset the man and hoped he would forgive her the next time they met because she knew somehow they would meet again. Plants. No, you can't be serious, said Athrun with eyes wide in disbelief as the chairman told him that not only did the Earth Alliance declare war on plants, but fired nukes at them an hour later. Yes, though I much rather believe it didn't happen myself, but it did happen, said Durandal before turning on his huge widescreen TV that had the current news on. They both watched as the news reporter told of what all happened to everyone, to the plants and to anyone else watching. Athrun clenched his fists in anger because this wasn't supposed to be happening. The war was supposed to be over, but it was starting all over again. Durandal saw the conflicting emotions passing through Athrun's eyes and started to smirk inwardly. He could easily use this opportunity to manipulate Athrun to rejoin ZAFT and lend him his power in his plans. With Athrun and Naruto both working for him, there was no way ZAFT would lose this upcoming war, and then he would be that much closer to completing his own goals. Minerva. Have you received any word from the chairman or anyone about what we should be doing? Asked Talia as she sat down in her captain's seat and looked over at Naruto. We are to stay put until receive orders otherwise, or are forced to leave, replied Naruto as he leaned against the far wall. I see, I guess everything truly has become chaotic. Not only are the Earth forces in disarray after their failed attempt on the plants, but the chairman must have his hands full trying to come up with a peaceful solution to reply to their attack, sighed Talia. No, a decision has already been reached that ZFT will deploy their forces, but only for defensive measures, said Naruto. I thought you said you hadn't heard anything from the higher-ups, said Talia with a raised eyebrow. You asked on what the Minerva should be doing and not what the other forces of ZFT would be doing, said Naruto, causing Talia to contain her urge to roll her eyes. She hated how damn technical Commander Uzumaki was at times because it made him so much more difficult to talk to. Captain, we are receiving a message, but are unable to identify who it is from, said a tech at a nearby council. He played the message for her and Naruto here, though it didn't mean Naruto cared to listen. Minerva, do you copy? Be warned that a nation surrounded by all black ships will soon become a black ship as well, and then you will have nowhere to run, said a voice. Naruto recognized the voice immediately as he had heard the man speaking with a woman who used to be part of the Earth forces when the Minerva first docked at ORB. His name was Andrew Waltfeld, the Desert Tiger, and the woman was former Captain Maru Ramius of the Archangel. Both traitors to their respective nations, so it was easy to see Naruto had no love for either of them. This is Talia Gladys, Captain of the Minerva. Who is this? Demanded Talia. Well, hello there, glad to see someone is listening after all. Anyway, it is like I said before. ORB has just received an ultimatum from the Atlantic Federation and they will be forced to join with them. If you don't want to be captured and killed, I suggest getting out of there as soon as possible, said the voice. You didn't answer my question, replied Talia. Ever heard of the name Andrew Waltfeld? Asked the voice with a bit of humor. Talia's eyes widened slightly before narrowing as she had definitely heard of the Desert Tiger. If you want, I can use the Zero system on Epion to trace the signal and bring this man to you, offered Naruto impassively. The frequency instantly flat-lined and Talia turned to frown at her commander because she knew he knew that would happen once he made that comment. Was that truly necessary, Commander? Asked Talia with a small sigh. You received all the information you wanted from them, so there was no point in continuing the conversation. I recommend preparing the ship to leave the dock as ORB will no doubt join the Atlantic Federation and they will demand we be turned over immediately once they do, said Naruto before leaving the bridge. Talia sighed a second time before her eyes hardened and she started to give out the orders for all hands to report to their station. If Commander Uzumaki believed the man over the frequency was telling the truth, then so she did, because she knew her commander did not joke or make careless suggestions in such situations like these. Hopefully, they would be able to leave dock in time before the Earth forces blocked their exit. ORB representative meeting. No, you can't possibly be agreeing to this, said Kigali outraged as she saw the treaty from the Atlantic Federation. We have no choice. Unless ZFT stops mobilizing their forces, then we will be forced to join the Atlantic Federation to save our nation, said Yanada. This goes against the ideals of ORB. Joining the Atlantic Federation, then we would be going against what we stand for, argued Kigali. Are you truly willing to sacrifice this nation when you could have saved it? Replied Yanada loudly. Kigali stared down at her hands in anger because she knew he was right, but still it felt wrong. Yanada smiled over at his son because he knew he had cornered the girl and soon the treaty would be signed whether she wanted it to be or not. Break. How long until we are out of ORB waters? Asked Captain Gladys as the Minerva had launched when they received official confirmation that ORB would be joining with the Atlantic Federation. Inwardly though, she was wondering how the drop operation was going because Commander Uzumaki had informed her that ZFT would be deploying forces to defend Carpinteria. She wanted to get over there as fast as possible to give them a hand should it escalate to unprecedented levels. We will be out of their waters in a few minutes, ma'am, replied Arthur. Any word from Carpinteria? Asked Gladys curiously. No ma'am, they are still out of our range, reported Marin from her council. Captain, several signals have appeared on radar. They're Earth Force's ships, panicked a soldier from his council. What? Gasped everyone on the bridge. It is a trap, said Naruto, not in the least bit surprised by this turn of events. They all turned to look at him in surprise before Captain Gladys spoke. Damn it, I want all hands to report to level 1 battle stations and prepare to lower the bridge. Have Rei, Shin, and Luna ready to launch should they attack us. Commander, we will need you to launch as well if they attack, ordered Captain Gladys. Naruto just nodded his head before leaving the bridge and headed towards the hangar. They are sending us a message telling us to surrender ourselves or they will open fire, said a soldier. Receiving another message from ORB saying that we are no longer welcomed in their waters and will open fire on us should we try to re-enter them, reported another soldier. ORB ships have turned their cannons on us, yelled another soldier. The Earth forces are launching their mobile suits, reported Marin with a worried look in her eyes. Damn, looks like we have no choice but to break through them. Launch our mobile suits immediately, ordered Captain Gladys as she gritted her teeth in anger at what was happening. Minerva hangar. Damn it, I can't believe they are attacking us like this, cursed Shin as he prepared to launch in the impulse. Rei and Luna had both gone to their respective mobile suits as well and got ready for battle. By the time Naruto had entered the hangar, all three of them had launched and he was calmly making his way to Epion. He was about to get on the lift to take him to his cockpit when he heard a clicking sound and silence filled the hangar. It seemed as if someone didn't want him to launch as he calmly turned around to find one of the mechanics pointing a gun right at him. You're not going anywhere, I am not going to let you go out there so you can betray us by rejoining with your old Earth Alliance buddies, said the mechanic as he glared at Naruto. HN, replied Naruto as he stared the man in his eyes with that same impassive look that was always on his face. Chapter 13. Naruto stared at the mechanic with a blank look in his eyes as the man continued to point the gun at him. He could tell the man held a great deal of hate for him and he already knew from glancing at the others in the hangar that they agreed with his statement. None of them trusted him since learning he was the one who piloted Wing Zero and had destroyed Boaz along with countless other ZFT soldiers during the Blood Valentine War. The mechanic on the other hand wasn't so brave anymore as he stared into the cold, piercing blue eyes of his commander. It was so much easier to pull the gun out at him when his back was turned, but now an overwhelming sense of fear washed over him. He could feel his legs shaking and he had started to sweat heavily as he continued to point the gun at Naruto. Put the gun away, said Naruto. No way, I already told you I am not giving you the chance to rejoin with your old buddies. I refuse to let a monster like you leave this ship, replied the mechanic as he tried to stop the shaking of his hands. Naruto's eyes narrowed slightly before he took a step towards the mechanic, causing the man to take a step back reflexively. The mechanic was a young man in his late 20s, had short brown hair with coal black eyes and a slim build. It was easy for Naruto to tell he had never been in any real battles before from the look in his eyes and the sweat dripping down from his forehead. I do not betray my comrades, replied Naruto as he stopped walking. We aren't your damn comrades, you are a natural, and we are coordinators. We will never be comrades, growled the man angrily. Am I a natural? Thought Naruto with a contemplative look in his eyes. Naturals were characterized as those who didn't have their genes altered while in the womb, so technically Naruto was a natural. Then again, he had trained his body farther than any being that had ever lived so far and could accomplish feats that others would consider impossible. Perhaps, he wasn't either a natural or coordinator, seeing is how he needed to be human to be classified in either group. A human was a being that lived for a certain amount of years before their bodies grew too old and they died unless they died of other means. Naruto couldn't die or had yet to die even after thousands of battles and hundreds of wars. So technically, he wasn't a human, but an immortal. Anyway, he had more important matters to deal with than think about what he would be considered. I am a soldier of ZFT and as such we are comrades whether you like me or not. I have been given orders and I will go through with them, said Naruto before turning around and heading towards Epion. Stop, I swear I will shoot, yelled the man with a conflicted look in his eyes. The gun shook violently in his hands as he watched Naruto ignore him and walk towards Epyon as if he didn't hear him. The mechanic wasn't a killer, but he had lost his father in the destruction of Boaz, and his commander was the one who had destroyed Boaz. He wanted to so badly kill the man, but for some reason he found it hard to pull the trigger. Commander Uzumaki was not an ally and he would betray them. With these thoughts, the mechanic closed his eyes tightly and pulled the trigger. A loud shot rang out through the hangar and Naruto had stopped walking. Everyone watched with wide eyes as the left side of the captain's uniform started to turn red, and they knew the bullet had struck in the area of where his kidney was located. Naruto just touched his hand to the spot and stared at the blood on his fingers with the same impassive expression that was always there. He then continued to walk towards Epyon and didn't bother to look at the mechanic, who had fell to his knees with a shocked look in his eyes. Minerva versus Atlantic Federation. Damn, this is ridiculous, cursed Shin as he shot down another 2 Gundam. He had been fighting for a good 10 minutes now, and it didn't seem he had put a dent in the Earth forces that had come at them. Worse, the Minerva was taking heavy damage as they couldn't turn around to ORB waters, as the ORB ships were preventing them from re-entering their waters. If they didn't find a way out this soon, then they would be destroyed. Where the hell is Commander Uzumaki? Yelled Luna as she opened communications with the bridge. We don't know, frowned Captain Gladys before gritting her teeth in anger as the Minerva shook from several explosions. It doesn't matter where he is, worry about protecting the Minerva, said Ray before shooting down some missiles fired at them from the Earth ships blocking their path. Luna, watch out, yelled Shin with wide eyes as a couple of Gundam had managed to get past them. Luna's eyes went wide in fear as 2 Gundam locked onto her with their rifles and then fired right at her. Ray kicked his thrusters to full blast to save her, but he already knew he wouldn't make in time. It was as if time slowed down as Luna saw her life flash before her eyes, but then a red blur appeared in front of her and took the blasts instead. She instantly recognized it as her commander's Gundam, and in a quick flick of the wrist, Epyon released its heat rod and used it to cut right through the 2 Gundam. Are you okay? Asked Naruto as he appeared on her monitor. Luna just nodded her head as she was still coming down from when she was going to die. After getting the affirmative from her, Epyon took to the skies and started to back up the impulse in taking down the rest of the Earth Force's mobile suits. About damn time you showed up, grumbled Shin as he drew his beam saber and cut through an approaching Gundam with ease. Shin didn't get any reply, but his eyes widened in fear when Epyon turned in his direction before whipping its heat rod at him. He just barely managed to move the impulse in time and was about to yell at the man when he heard an explosion behind him and turned to see a Gundam that had managed to sneak up behind him get destroyed. The heat rod retracted and Epyon went off to engage another group of Gundam. Bastard, I'll show you I don't need your help, thought Shin angrily before preparing to take off at full thrust, but stopped when a large warning sound went off in his cockpit. Everyone, the Earth Forces is launching some type of mobile armor and it is huge, said Marin with wide eyes before pulling up the image for them all to see. All pilots fall back, we will use our bow gun, particle beam cannon, to destroy that mobile suit, ordered Captain Gladys. My reaction time has been slowed due to my injury, thought Naruto as he fell back and glanced at the wound he suffered earlier. He hated gun-shot wounds because the small piece of metal got stuck in his body and his advanced healing allowed his skin to heal right over it. It was a very painful process of punching a hole into the spot where he was shot with his own hands to pull out the bullet. Luckily, he had a high tolerance of pain and it was nothing but a mere annoyance to him after so many centuries of performing such a procedure. He headed over to take out any remaining Gundam while the Minerva fired its particle beam cannon at the new mobile armor that was easily twice the size of his own Gundam and looked to be some type of crab with its pincer-type arms. His eyes narrowed as a shield appeared and deflected the Minerva's particle beam. No way, gasped Shin as he uttered the thoughts all those aboard the Minerva. Shin, you have to take out that mobile armor before it gets to the Minerva. Commander Uzumaki is too busy dealing with the remaining Gundam, said Marin hastily. Got it, said Shin as his eyes hardened. Time to end this, thought Naruto as he noticed that the Minerva was getting too close to ORB borders. He quickly retracted his heat rod and drew his beam saber, then activated it to full power. Naruto flew at the Gundam closest to him and stabbed it through the chest with his saber before using his impressive strength to fling it at the Gundam trying to sneak up behind him. The Gundam exploded in front of its ally, which effectively blinded the last remaining Gundam from seeing anything. Its pilot's eyes widened in horror though when beam entered its chest from behind, as it didn't even detect Epyon on its radar until it was too late. Epyon, having finished off the last 2 Gundam, headed towards the Earth Force's ships in the distance, and drew its heat rod with its beam saber still in its right hand. It landed on the deck of a carrier and then swung its heat rod at the other 3 ships on the left. The heat rod extended to great lengths with a deadly curve to it as it easily pierced through all 3 ships, causing them all to explode. The captain on the bridge of the ship that Epion landed on watched with terror-filled eyes as the demonic Gundam destroyed his allies on either side of him. He was gripped with such fear and terror that he forgot to issue the order to abandon ship, and Epion raised its beam saber high above its head before stabbing it right through the bridge and all the way through and out the bottom of the ship. Epion jumped backwards and floated in the air as it watched as over 10 ships, large and small, exploded then sunk to the bottom of the ocean. It seems the boy's power has increased, thought Naruto as he turned around and watched as the impulse managed to take out the mobile armor when it was having so much trouble with it merely a few moments ago. It was like when he fought the freedom and justice, and the Gundams would start fighting at incredible levels when it looked like he had them finished. Perhaps, the pilot of the impulse wasn't as weak as he thought. Minerva hangar. Shin, that was amazing, you managed to take out that mobile armor all on your own, said Luna excitedly, as she congratulated the boy. The rest of the crew started to congratulate him as well, and even Ray nodded at him in approval. Shin couldn't stop the pleased smile from reaching his face as he accepted the praise. The praise didn't last long when Commander Uzumaki exited his cockpit and used the grappling lift to lower himself to the ground. Shin, Ray, and Luna noticed the large blood stain on the lower left side of his uniform and couldn't help but wonder what happened. They all watched as Naruto landed on the ground and everyone in the hangar turned to face him. The man had single-handedly cleared a path for them by destroying all the Earth Force's ship, and any more doubts of him betraying them seemed to be gone from their mind as they all stood straight and saluted him with looks of gratitude in their eyes. One mechanic in particular stepped forward and bowed low to Naruto before falling back and saluting the commander. Naruto just remained as impassive as always and made his way past the crew, but stopped when he reached the mechanic who had bowed to him. The mechanic watched with a defeated look in his eyes as Naruto paused next to him, but was surprised when Naruto reached into uniform's pocket and pulled something out. "This is yours," said Naruto as he tossed something at the mechanic before leaving the hangar. The mechanic caught the unknown item with a confused look on his face before looking down at what was in his hand. His eyes went wide with disbelief as he noticed he was holding a small bullet covered in blood. It was the bullet that he had shot at his commander earlier, and the mechanic's eyes clouded over in shame as he had shot at the man who saved all their lives. Plants. Athrun, it is good to see you again, smiled Durandal as Mir stood next to him with a beautiful smile on her face as well. I have decided to take your offer and join ZFT, said Athrun with a hard look in his eyes. Durandal smiled wider at that and pulled out a small box that contained a special item in it. I was hoping you would, and I had this prepared for you, said Durandal as he handed Athrun the item. Athrun took the box, opened it, and gasped in surprise as he recognized the item as those worn by members of faith. I know your beliefs may differ from my own, so use this to fight for what you believe in. It is my hope that with this power you will help me create a peaceful world, explained Durandal. Chairman, started Athrun, but stopped when the chairman just smiled at him. I know you are also worried about the situation in ORB, so please go join the Minerva. I have high hopes for that battleship. It is my hope it will play a similar role to what the Archangel played in the First War. I have no doubt with you aboard the Minerva along with Naruto-san that you both will make those hopes a reality, smiled Durandal. Naruto-kun, muttered Mir with wide eyes before a guilty look appeared on her face. Durandal and Athrun didn't seem to hear or notice the look on Mir's face and continued to talk while the young woman beat herself over some internal conflict. Break. Wow, I still can't believe what Commander Uzumaki was able to do with just a single Gundam, said Arthur as they received a report that all units had docked in the hangar. Yes, it seems we all owe him an apology as we had doubts that he would truly fight for us once the Earth Alliance officially declared war on us, smiled Captain Gladys. Yeah, I mean what he did out there was incredible. I doubt even the rumors of what the Freedom did at Jachindu could match up to this, nodded Arthur. Do not fool yourself, the Freedom took out over 50 nuclear weapons along with 100 mobile suits and over 10 Nazca-class ships, said Naruto, causing both of them to jump in surprise as they didn't even know he was there. Commander, saluted Captain Gladys and Arthur. Naruto just nodded his head at them, which caused them both to relax. I would like to apologize for my behavior lately, sir, apologized Arthur seriously. Naruto just tilted his head in acceptance of the apology and Arthur sighed in relief, which made Talia smirk a bit at her executive officer. It shouldn't be long until we reach Carpinteria, sir, so if you would like to rest until then please feel free, offered Captain Gladys. I am fine, replied Naruto. Very well, I shall let you know when we reach Carpinteria, said Captain Gladys. Naruto just nodded his head before taking his leave, where he would then go to the deck to stare out over the ocean. Naruto didn't bother to bring up the issue of what happened with the mechanic because it didn't bother him in the least so long as the man didn't try it again. If he, then next time he wouldn't be so kind. Chapter 14. Thought Naruto as he walked through mall and looked at all the shop windows with his usual impassive expression. The Minerva had landed in Carpinteria about 5 hours ago, and all crew had been given permission to disembark since they were currently out of harm's way. He grew tired of listening to all the commotion of the crew bragging to others what he did to get them here, so decided against his better judgment to go exploring. Tell the truth, he had never been here since Zaft's occupation of Carpinteria, and he could see why the Earth forces failed each and every time to reacquire this base. ZFT had definitely gone all out to protect themselves from any large-scale attacks, but there was a flaw. Like most military bases like this, they were unprepared for any type of small-scale invasion, say 1 or 2 people trained extensively in assassination. This is why the attack on Armory 1 was so successful, because ZFT never expected an attack from within. The same thing could easily occur again here at Carpinteria, but he highly doubted they would take any precautions until it was too late. "Commander!" yelled a familiar voice, which caused Naruto to turn his head slightly to see Luna waving at him before she ran in his direction. "Luna-san," said Naruto with a nod of his head. The girl smiled brightly at him before walking next to him, the smile never leaving her face. "No offense, but I never expected to see you in a mall," smiled Luna with a teasing glint in her eyes. "I am merely looking around," replied Naruto. "Aha, if you say so," giggled Luna. This man had saved her life, and it was in that moment she knew he couldn't be as cold-hearted as he acted if he was willing to take several beams to the chest for her, whom he barely even knew. With that thought, she decided to do whatever it took to get to know him better, even if it meant to annoy the hell out of him until he showed some type of emotion. "Well, I hope you don't mind, but I think I'll walk around with you a bit. I have no idea what Shin or Rei are doing, but if I had to guess it is probably something boring," said Luna with a dismissive gesture of her hand. Naruto just glanced at the girl with a curious expression in his eye, as the girl seemed to be unnaturally cheerful, well, at least to him. "Oh, I wanted to say thank you for saving my life. I didn't get the chance to thank you before because I couldn't find you, but now that you are here." "Thank you," smiled Luna before bowing. Naruto nodded his head and was about to continue walking when he felt a shift in the air, so turned his head to see Luna glaring at him with a cute pout on her face. "Hey, I just thank you for saving my life and all you can do is nod your head," glared Luna as she put her hands on her hips indignantly. Naruto just frowned slightly, but noticed the girl wouldn't let the matter drop, so mentally sighed before replying. "You're welcome," said Naruto, causing Luna to smile brightly at him. "See, that wasn't so hard," smirked Luna as she started to walk next to Naruto with a small hum. "She reminds me of Ino-chan," thought Naruto, before squashing that thought immediately. He would not let the similarities in personality cause in him to lose control over his emotions. I need some new clothes." "I got it, you can tell me how I look while I try some new things," smiled Luna enthusiastically before grabbing Naruto's arm and dragging him towards a store she had her eyes on. "I rather not," said Naruto, clearly uncomfortable. "Ah, don't be like that," pouted Luna, but Naruto didn't budge. She just sighed, but then a small smirk formed on her face. "Fine, but since you don't want to go clothes shopping, you are going to buy me lunch, Commander," smiled Luna with a challenging look that dared him to say no. Naruto nodded look and allowed the girl to drag him towards the food court. "After lunch, think I could check out your Gundam?" asked Luna hopefully. "No," replied Naruto without hesitation. "Meh, can't blame a girl for trying," sighed Luna before she cheered up rather quickly as she noticed they had this place she loved to eat at the food court. "Minerva. Thanks for the lunch, it was great," smiled Luna in delight as she and Naruto entered the hangar. Naruto just nodded his head in agreement because the food wasn't bad and the girl hadn't annoyed him too much. They didn't get to say anything more when all mechanics started to clear the way like they did when one of them was landing their mobile suits. Naruto frowned at that because according to his knowledge all their mobile suits were accounted for. He and Luna watched as a new mobile suit docked in the hangar and Naruto's eyes narrowed. It was the Savior Gundam, which was designed based off Epion. The Savior Gundam was created by ZFT in hopes to recreate a Gundam with similar abilities to Epion, but with long range and higher defense capabilities. It contained twin beam sabers located on the shoulders along with a regular beam saber on the right waist. On the right side of the arm was a prototype beam rifle, more powerful than the one the Impulse used, and on its left armor was the newest shield that could easily deflect beam rifle's blasts. Naruto had no doubt this Gundam could possibly pose a challenge to him, but Epyon was still far superior to it in close combat. Whoa, is that a new model? Who is piloting it? Wondered Luna curiously. Hey, did you see that new mobile suit? Asked Shin as he ran into the hangar, but went silent when he saw what Luna was looking at. Yeah, but I don't know who is piloting it, replied Luna as they watched the cockpit open. So he joined ZFT after all, thought Naruto before taking his leave of the hangar. He had seen all he needed to see and would check on Epyon later while hoping it didn't destroy the weak copy of itself. Naruto also didn't fail to notice the look of admirations coming from Luna and Marin as they realized Athrun was the pilot of the new Gundam. Perhaps, she is more like Sakura, thought Naruto with a slight frown. He respected Luna's skill as a pilot, but it seemed she craved the attention of those who accomplished great things. That didn't bother him though, because it meant that she probably would leave him alone in favor of the Zala boy. This caused Naruto to receive a vision just as he made it to his room. Flashback. What do you want, dope? You think because you wear those Hokage robes that you are a challenge for me? Taunted Sasuke with his usually arrogant smirk. Just leave, Naruto, I don't want to have to hurt you, pleaded Sakura. She had a guilty look in her eyes as she looked at her teammate, who she had abandoned to be with the other. Naruto just looked at them both coldly, but his Hokage hat prevented them from seeing the cold look in his eyes as his robes billowed in the wind. He stood across from them silently for a good 30 seconds before he raised his head and gave them a look that could freeze hell over. There was no trace of his usual mirth or playfulness, only a cold hard look that promised pain if they did do what he said. Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke, for crimes against Konoha you are both sentenced to a life imprisonment. Surrender now, and I promise no harm will come to you as a sign of good faith, said Naruto seriously. Like I am scared of some fake Hokage, scowled Sasuke as he activated his Mangekyo Sharingan. Sakura knew from the look in Naruto's eyes that she would not be able to convince him to leave them along, so she would just have to help her love beat him and then convince Sasuke not to kill him. Very well, then since you both refuse to face trial, then as Hokage I will deem your punishment. As the Rokudaime Hokage of Konoha, I have deemed you both too much of a threat to the peace and safety of Konoha. Your punishment is death, said Naruto coldly. Don't make me laugh, Dobe, laughed Sasuke before preparing to charge at Naruto, but his eyes went wide in fear as he felt an familiar hand land on his right arm. Sakura's eyes went wide in horror too because she couldn't believe how fast Naruto had moved, and not even Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan could follow it. Those who break the rules are trash, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. Remember that because the lowest level in hell is reserved for those who betray the ones who loved and trusted them, whispered Naruto. That was last things Sasuke and Sakura heard before they were sent to hell courtesy of the Rokudaime Hokage of Konoha, the most powerful Hokage in Konoha's history, even surpassing the Yondaime. End flashback. Pray you do not betray ZFT a second time, Athrun Zala, as this time I am part of ZFT, thought Naruto coldly. Captain's office. So, the chairman has not only assigned you to the Minerva, but made us both members of faith. I have to wonder what the chairman is thinking assigning 3 members of faith to the same ship, said Talia as she eyes the faith pin that had been given to her. Ma'am, I know this may be off subject, but I was hoping you can tell me what happened with ORB, said Athrun hopefully. I wish I could tell you exactly what is going on, but I am afraid that not even I know what has truly happened. As far as I know, ORB signed a treaty with the Atlantic Federation, but now there are several rumors going on that Kigali-sama was kidnapped by the Freedom, replied Talia with an apologetic smile. I see, said Athrun as he stared at the ground in anger when he heard that Kigali had been kidnapped from her own wedding. He understood that she had been in an arranged marriage with Yuna, but he had hoped she would have accepted his proposal to her before he left for the plants and not go through with the wedding. It hurt to know that she hadn't and almost gone through with the wedding if it weren't for Kira kidnapping her. He didn't say anything more and took his leave, not even noticing Naruto as he entered the room because he was so lost in his thoughts. We have been given orders to report to Suez, said Naruto to the surprise of Captain Gladys. Why would they be sending us to Suez? They do realize that we are not a ground battleship? Asked Talia. This is a direct order straight from the council and chairman. You will be taking this on as your new appointment to Faith. Once the repairs finish, they want us to leave and we will have one Bozgorov submarine-class ship as an escort, reported Naruto. Very well, I will have Arthur alert the crew so that they are prepared to leave by tomorrow morning, saluted Talia. Naruto just nodded his head before taking his leave and decided to go check on Epion. Archangel. So you are saying that you were attacked by a group of special ops from the plants who were trying to kill Lakis? Said Kigali with a confused look on her face. Yeah, we still don't know why they were after her, but it seems Chairman Durandal isn't as benevolent as we all thought, replied Andrew as he took a sip from his coffee mug. I see, I want to apologize for the way I have been acting lately. If I wasn't so weak I would have never let Yuna and the others sign that treaty with the Atlantic Federation, apologized Kigali as she clenched her fist in anger. She was surprised when she felt a reassuring hand on her shoulder and looked up to see Kira smiling at her. It isn't your fault, and besides we will find a way to correct this. The important thing is you're safe and that you can rectify what happened by staying alive, smiled Kira. Kigali just hugged Kira tightly and nodded her head in agreement. I think I found out why they were after me, said Lakis before bringing up what she was looking at on the large monitor. Everyone watched with different expressions on their face as it showed someone who looked exactly like Lakis performing a concert while at the plants. What does this mean? Muttered Maru through narrowed eyes. I don't know, but whoever this Chairman Durandal is, I don't trust him, glared Kira as he watched what was happening with a hint of anger. Break. Captain Roanoke, it is an honor to have you aboard, saluted Lieutenant Han. Lieutenant, I hope you received my message earlier telling you to inform the frontline base to end out all their mobile suits as we will be going against the Minerva and Bozgorov class, said Neo as he approached the man. Yes sir, they were reluctant at first, but I told it was a direct order from you and that the Gaia would be staying behind to protect them and they eventually agreed, replied Lieutenant Han. Good, because this time I want that ship to sink to the bottom of the ocean along with the rest of its crew, grinned Neo. Prepare my Windom and have the Chaos, Abyss, and Gaia ready to launch. I want to end this quickly, ordered Neo before leaving the bridge. Lieutenant Han just saluted before relaying the orders. Minerva hangar. Commander, saluted Athrun as he entered the hangar to see Naruto staring up at Epion like he always seemed to be doing. HN, said Naruto with a small glance at him before dismissing him. Listen, I know we fought against each other in the first war, but I was hoping to ask you a question that has been bothering me for quite some time, said Athrun nervously. I don't know, replied Naruto not bothering to look at Athrun. Athrun just blinked confused, but before he could ask what he meant by that, Naruto spoke again. You wish to ask me why I saved your life and the answer is, I don't know, said Naruto as he turned to face the young man. How did he know what I wanted to ask him, thought Athrun surprised. Naruto didn't say anything more, but didn't have to as alarms started to go off signaling that they would be going into battle. HN, said Naruto before heading towards Epion while Athrun headed over to the savior. Athrun didn't want to fight, but he wasn't going to just sit around and do nothing while others were put in danger. If fighting is what he had to do to help this war end quickly, then he would fight. Minerva's bridge. Captain, we are detecting over 50 Windom heading in our direction, relayed Arthur with a grim expression. What? I wasn't aware there was an Earth Alliance base around here, said Captain Gladys through narrowed eyes. We are picking up no signs of base nearby, but there is a carrier about a mile or two off the island's coast from us, said Marin. Ma'am, just received word, the Chaos is among the Windom, yelled Arthur. Damn, have all our mobile suits right away. Tell Athrun he is in charge of this battle and ask Commander Uzumaki to try to scout for any base nearby, ordered Captain Gladys as the bridge started to lower. Yes ma'am, saluted Arthur before relaying the orders. Battle over the Indian Ocean. Shin, remember don't head too far out, ordered Athrun as they headed towards the approaching Earth forces. Yeah I know, grumbled Shin, annoyed that he had to take orders from Athrun. Commander, have you picked up any signs of a base? Asked Captain Gladys as she appeared on his screen. No, but I have the Zero system calculating the possible coordinates of any hidden bases where they could launch these Windom from. Requesting permission to leave the area to search for the base in designated coordinates, said Naruto before drawing his heat rod then avoiding several blasts from approaching Windom mobile suits. Permission granted, just don't take too long Commander, said Captain Gladys. HN, replied Naruto before closing the link and going into the clouds to disappear from the enemy mobile suit's vision. The Windoms fired into the cloud recklessly as they prepared for Epion to make its move. They saw Epion's heat rod burst out of the clouds and the three Windom all dodged in different directions. Epion burst out of the clouds and cut the Windom on the far right in half right through the cockpit with its beam saber before twisting its wrist and destroying the other two with a single swipe of its heat rod. Naruto noticed that the impulse was fighting the rest of the Windom while the savior fought with the chaos. They are hiding the abyss, thought Naruto knowingly, as he transformed into his mobile armor form and took off in the direction of an island about a mile away. Epion had calculated that a base would be located in this vicinity and knew that the Zero system was never wrong when it came to making calculations. As he flew over the area, he could sense many people on the island, but was forced to do a barrel roll to avoid several beam blasts before he could scout any further. He looked down to see the Gaia taking aim at him and transformed into his mobile suit form. "You're the bastard that tried to kill Neo, I will make you pay," glared Stella as she fired several more shots at Epion. The Gaia, designed for close range and ground combat. "Let's see how well you match up to Epion, who specializes in those areas as well," said Naruto as he drew his beam saber and prepared to engage the Gaia. That's it for part 3. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.